friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to day 13 of my 2020 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be using Sunny Studios Hedgie Holidays and Seasons Greetings to make some Christmas gift tags. So I've stamped my images out on some Neenah Solar White cardstock with Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink, and I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers. I'm starting with my hedgehog's skin, and for that I'm using E50, E51, and E53. So I went around his body and laid in some shadows with that E53, mostly on the outer edges, but also under his little hands and feet and under his Santa hat. And then I blended that out with the E51. I saved a lot of room in the middle for that lightest shade, the E50, because I wanted to keep him nice and light. And I'm basically just flicking on that color so that there's even like an even more highlighted area there right on his tummy in the center. And then I'm going to bring in R20 to add some little rosy cheeks. And I will also color the insides of his ears and his nose. And then I'll do the other two off screen. And then I'm going to move on to the spikes. And for that, I'm using E23, E25, and E27. So beginning with that E27, I'm laying in a dark shadow right around the perimeter of his flesh. And that is just going to help the lighter part of his body kind of stick up and lift off the page just by having that darker halo kind of around it. And then I'll start to blend out toward the outside edge with that E25. And I'm kind of scribbling on that color because I don't want to get like a dark ring around him. I want to have a kind of softer line as the colors blend into each other. And then I will finish up with that E23. So I'm going to fill in all of that white space, and then I'm going to go back and add a few flicks of color in all three of those shades. So I'm doing a second layer, but kind of in a different pattern, just like little quick flicks that are going to add to the spiky texture of him. And I'll do the other two off screen as well. For my red combo, I'm using R24, R29, and R39. So I'll add a little of that R39 on the right hand side of that Santa hat and then up above the hat brim, and then blend out with the R29, kind of making a backwards L shape, and then fill in with the R24. And then for the candy cane, I'm adding that R39 on the inside edge of the candy cane, and then blending out with the R29, and then adding the R24 on the top edge for a nice little highlight. Once I finish that up, I will also color the little holly berry with those shades, just doing a little backwards circle from the bottom right to the top left to kind of match the coloring of the Santa hat. I'll use W1 to add some shading to all of the white areas just so they have a bit of dimension as well. Just real quick and easy, and let that fade into the white. And then for the holly leaves, I'm using G16 and G28. Just put a little of that G28 closest to the berry, and then blend it towards the edge of the leaf with the G16. I'll take my black Sakura Jelly Roll pen and go over their eyes to make them nice and bright and shiny. It kind of just adds a little bit of dimension as well onto the surface of the image, so it just really brings the images to life. And then I'm also going to add some little white details. I'm doing little kind of spikes to add to the spiky texture of their bodies, just to just emphasize that and make them look extra cute. I really, really like how this turned out. So I'm just going to show you on the first little guy, and then I'll do the other two off screen just as I have with all of the rest of the coloring. And then I will trim these all out with their coordinating dies. For my pattern papers, I'm using the Holiday Cheer 6x6 pad. So I am going to choose a pattern. At first I thought I might use 3 different colors for each of the 3 tags. So that's why I had the 3 snowflakes, but in the end I decided to just stick with the blue snowflake. But I'm going through and just picking some coordinating prints there. I'm going to use the white polka dot for the snow, and then I wanted something to kind of dress up the top, but I ended up going with a red and pink and white stripe to kind of match the candy canes. So I used the stitched arch dies to die cut the tags and the snowflake print, and then the slimline nature borders to die cut the snowbank, and the slimline basic borders to cut the scallop stripy print for the top of the tag. So I'm flipping that cardstock tag over and gluing the pattern paper to the back of it, making the back the front essentially. But that is going to give me the stitching detail on both sides that will be prominent and look its best, because it'll have the stitching detail on the pattern paper and then also on the back of the tag. I glued the snowbank down to the bottom, and then I'm taking this little candy cane stripe and gluing that to the top of the tag to create a little topper. I popped each of those into my MISTI, and I'm stamping in Lawn Fawn lobster ink, and I'm using the sentiment that comes in the Hedgy Holidays, which says Hedgy Holidays, which I think is super cute and just fit perfectly at the bottom of that tag. So there you can see all 3 of those, and then I'm going to flip them over and use some sentiments from the Season's Greetings stamp set. So I'm using the to and from, and then also like 2 little leaf clusters that I added to the top of the tag to kind of go along with that curve. And I thought about adding a berry between those, but I'm actually going to be punching a hole there, so I ended up just not adding the berry. I'm using my Crocodile, which is a tool that I have not used in a very long time, but any kind of hole punch will do, and I'm just adding a little hole to the top of each of those so I can add some thread later on. But before I do that, I want to start to add the rest of my images and also little hole reinforcers. There are several Sunny Studio die sets that come with hole reinforcers. The one that I used was from a gift tag die, but even if you don't have a die for this, you can make one yourself just by die cutting like a small circle and then punching a hole out of the center of that. So it's really easy to do whether you have a die for it or not. So I added a bit of glue around that hole and just pressed those down into place. And honestly, you don't even have to do this step if you don't want to, but I just thought it added a little something extra to make it look a bit more professional, and also it just helps make the paper just a little bit more supported so that your twine doesn't accidentally rip through when it's being tied on there or, attached to your gift. So once I had those all on, I added my little hedgehogs, and I just tipped those a little bit to the left or the right to give each one its own little quirky personality. I just love him so much. I think he's so stinking cute. He's actually my favorite image of the entire Sunny Studio fall and winter release. I love him. And then I'm going to take those little holly berries and add that to the side of his Santa hat, just above his ear. I'm doing 2 on the right hand side, 1 on the left, just depending on which way I kind of twisted them on the card. And that's just to add a little something extra and give it a little pop of green on there as well. And then I'm taking some Lawn Fawn lawn trimmings. It's this red and white striped twine. And I'm going to double that over and take the center part and feed that through the little hole, pull it up through the back, and then feed the ends through and tug it into place. And that is how I attach it. And then you can take the long ends and tie it onto a gift bow or around a piece of ribbon or something like that on your Christmas gifts. Super cute. So I'm so excited. I have 3 fun tags to add to my gifts this year. So these guys are also kicking off Tracy McNeely's 25 Days of Christmas Tags. It's day 1. I'll have a link to that post down below, as well as links to all of the products that I used today. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. I post new ones every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you'd like to keep watching, here is day 13 of the previous 2 years of holiday card series. I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Bye-bye.